Are you torn between buying in Miami or Fort Lauderdale? Though in the past, Miami has been the easy choice for many, lately I have had my fair share of folks that are on the fence and are saying, hey, Juan, what's the deal with Fort Lauderdale? And the truth is, while both markets offer sunshine and opportunity, one of them might quietly be the smarter move right now, but only if you know where to look. By the way, I'm Juan Yarusi with Compass, your South Florida realtor. I help clients buy smart, sell confidently, and relocate seamlessly across Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, and beyond. And today, we're comparing Miami versus Fort Lauderdale across 5 essential areas. 1, real estate trends. 2, investment and rental potential. 3, lifestyle and community. 4, cost of living. And 5, other deciding factors like schools, transportation, insurance, and the dreaded flooding, which no realtor wants to talk to you about. But in reality, this isn't about which city is better. It's about which city is better for you. Real estate trends. Miami, with its vibrant community and melting pot of cultures, was always destined to become one of the most important cities in the world. Today, it definitely has earned that moniker. And when you mention Miami, some think of Miami Beach and the Art Deco buildings of South Beach. Others might consider edgier destinations like Windward or more vibrant areas like Brickell and downtown Miami. But there is one thing that really sticks out, and that is the plethora of buildings that the Magic City has to offer. But in the single family market, while there are single family homes that you can find online between $500 and $7,000 range, when you look at the sought after areas like Coral Gables, where the median is $2.3 million, Miami Shores, where the median sales price is just under $1 million, Key Biscayne, where the median sales price is $3.6 million, or even Miami Beach, where the median is $2.7 million, it really gives you a better perspective of what these different communities are fetching in terms of pricing. In contrast, in Fort Lauderdale, while there are plenty of oceanfront condos and there's your fair share in downtown as well, it feels like single family homes and townhomes are often the most prevalent and most sought after choice. Honestly, I think this is why I'm hearing a lot more people, even folks from Miami, asking me about potentially moving to Fort Lauderdale. And to be honest, the sought after communities here like Rio Vista have a median sales price of $2.7 million, Coral Ridge, $2.4 million, Coral Ridge Country Club Estates, $1.4 million, Imperial Point, $726,000, and Victoria Park, $1,350,000. And I know what you're thinking. What's this guy talking about? It's basically the same prices, maybe a little bit more than Miami. But I can confidently say that even though it sounds similar, it feels different. In Fort Lauderdale, many of these homes are on the water. That's a very, very difficult option to find in Miami in that price point. And then while most of those buildings alongside the ocean in areas like Miami Beach, Surfside, Bal Harbor, and Key Biscayne really mostly got built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, while some areas like Sunny Isles or Surfside do have some newer construction buildings, and you're starting to see that happen also in Miami Beach with Billionaires Row. The fact of the matter is, most oceanfront condos predate the 2000s. Then when you look at condos in the urban core, and I mean Midtown, Edgewater, the median is in the $845,000, and in Brickell downtown, that number is $640,000, which might surprise you, but remember, Brickell and downtown were a large part of that construction boom of the 2010 time period. There are a lot of newer buildings in those areas as well, and they continue to build non-stop. But Edgewater has seen the introduction of some incredible new projects like Missoni Bahia, Elysee, Aria Reserve, and Villa Miami, which are pushing all those prices up. But the bottom line is you may be able to find condos starting in the $500,000 range. You won't have the beach as an amenity, but you do have that vibrant and eclectic urban core with about a 15 to 25 minute drive to the beach, depending on where you are, and traffic. And when you look at Miami Beach as a whole, you get a lot of older condos similar to what you will find in Fort Lauderdale. And in general terms, Miami Beach median prices are around $535,000. However, much like with the single family home, if you look in the little pockets, like south of 5th, for example, the median sales price jumps to $805,000. Remember, we are talking about the median price. When we look at average prices, they're much higher because of the luxury sales that you can find in buildings like Apogee or Continuum, where sales have been recorded recently as between $3,000 and $6,000 a square foot, where a one-bedroom cabana recently traded for $2.4 million. That was the least expensive sale in the building. While a combined unit, 2 units put together, over 4,700 square feet, traded for $17.2 million. Fort Lauderdale is smaller and it does not have as many high-rises. The good news is that is starting to change, particularly in the downtown corridor in areas like Flagler Village, where they're starting to see some beautiful new developments that will reshape the Fort Lauderdale skyline. But if you're looking for beachfront condos, you're going to be between the medians of around $600 to $1 million general. When you look at the newer buildings like Paramount, Alberge, or the Four Seasons, which are some of the priciest buildings in Fort Lauderdale at the moment, with prices ranging anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 a square foot, call it $5 to $10 million. Let's do a quick comparison to the Four Seasons in Surfside, the Surf Club, where prices range between $3,000 and $5,200, with a recent sale closing for over $27 million. And while these numbers sound crazy and nutty, when you look at the outpour of wealth that is coming into Miami as a whole, and the amount of celebrities that once had maybe a house or two, but are now doubling down, like Tom Brady, Jeff Bezos, who spent almost $200 million in the past 2 years in one island in Indian Creek, Ken Griffin, who's not only one of the world's largest billionaires, but also relocated Citadel down to Miami and is building a $1 billion office tower for his team in Brickell. It makes you wonder, what do these folks know that we don't? And why are they willing to spend that much today? What do they think that will be worth in the coming years? So clearly, after looking at the difference in pricing for single family median prices to the median prices in condos, it's easy to understand why many people still flock to the condos down here. It generally has been the perfect intro for first-time home buyers or vacations homes for many over the years. And that is because the supply of condos versus houses in Miami is truly overwhelming, particularly east of I-95, because in the west you have more of those suburban areas. Investment and rental potential. Let's talk about return on investment. Miami has consistently ranked as a top global market for equity-rich buyers, and it has a strong rental demand, especially for luxury condos and short-term rentals. But condo regulations and insurance hikes are eating into net returns, especially in older towers. Fort Lauderdale is a growing rental demand, both short and long-term, high turnover in single-family home neighborhoods near the beach, which equal better margins, and with lower purchase prices, you might be able to get a better cap rate potential than in Miami. And here's where things get exciting for me. See, when we look at pre-construction or new development projects, Miami has seen its fair share over the years. And there's reason for it. People continue to flock here. But you do have more competition, and keep in mind that there's far less newer high-rises in Fort Lauderdale, meaning 2015 and newer, than there are in Miami. And those buildings become a scarce, desirable resource because most people want new. And here is where the opportunity arises, because if you're able to find that at a good deal, or an older building that's done everything that they need to do. And when we talk about the new developments that have been turned over, of course, you have amazing projects like Pier 66, the Four Seasons, and the St. Regis that just launched sales recently. If you want to check that project out, here's the video above. I'll link it in the description. But in all honesty, in Fort Lauderdale, you'll find a lot more single-family homes, townhomes, and family-friendly neighborhoods that make it feel more like a community than when you're exploring condo living. And if you're looking at houses, the ones on the water are definitely a huge commodity. So just for reference, some of the pre-construction or new development projects in downtown start around $800 to $1,200 a square foot. Prices will start at around $500 to $600,000 depending on the project, location, and they could go up to $3.5, $4, $5 million, again depending on the project and location. These are generously sized units, fully amenitized luxury buildings, and in Miami, to get something like that, you'd be looking more like $1,200 to $2,000 a square foot. You're talking $700 to $1.2 million for a one bedroom. And if you're looking on the beach, Celine or St. Regis are examples of some of the newer construction buildings ranging between $2,000 a square foot to $2,500 a square foot. Whereas projects like that in Miami, for example, the Ritz-Carlton is ranging between $3,500 and $4,500 a square foot. The Paragon in Miami Beach, similar story, $3,500 to $4,600 a square foot. So as an investment, what's the bottom line? Well, look, if you're investing in luxury, location, or lifestyle, really both cities work for you. But if you're watching ROI closely, Fort Lauderdale might be a better long-term play right now, particularly in that single family, multifamily, and new development projects. Now let's talk about lifestyle and vibe. I mean, let's be honest, if you're considering South Florida, you're coming for the lifestyle. And what most of us love about Miami, it's high energy, globally renowned. There's multiple luxury shopping destinations like Bal Harbour, Design District, or Aventura Mall. But more importantly, the vibe. And in terms of entertainment, Miami has it all. From the rooftop bars to the nightclub scene, even including 24-hour clubs like 11 and Space. Now, in terms of restaurants, Miami is definitely on the top of the map. Seems like Michelin star chefs open up a restaurant every 6 months down here. And in terms of the beach, you do have a lot more activity in Miami than you do in Fort Lauderdale. Granted, there is spring break, which is what Fort Lauderdale is greatly known for. It gets swamped with college kids, but Miami is not far behind during that time of the year. But thinking of everyday living, Fort Lauderdale, it really is a much more casual vibe. And not meaning that there's not wealthy people here, because you'll see somebody in flip-flops and polos jump onto a $3 or $4 million yacht, and you'd never guess it, just because of how laid back everybody kind of is, and not as flashy. Imagine something like a coastal beach town that really wants to be a city. It feels more like, I mentioned, community-based and family-oriented. And now in terms of nightlife, there really isn't a lot of clubs. It's not really the scene in Fort Lauderdale. There's a lot more waterfront bars and restaurants, and more keep opening up. We actually see a lot of Miami restaurants that are coming up, and we have also seen restaurants from other parts of the country that are opening up here. We're also seeing an introduction of more and more rooftop bars. We had Sparrow at 1WLO, which are great, but now new places like Nube, right on the beach, it's definitely worth checking out, are becoming more and more popular. So in terms of nightlife and major attractions, Miami does take the cake. I mean, anything from nightclubs to music festivals like Miami Music Week, which is where Ultra takes place, the boat show, Art Basel, which is one of the most internationally renowned art festivals, to concerts, food and wine festivals, and hundreds of parties and DJs coming to clubs, rooftops, and lounges. It's just nonstop. But even if you live in Fort Lauderdale, you could go to these events. I mean, talking about 40, 45 minutes, depending on traffic. If you take the Bright Line, it's 30 minutes. In Fort Lauderdale, you really have the boat show, Tortuga Music Festival, and spring break. People aren't really coming here to party. They're coming here to enjoy, relax, and if they want to go down to Miami, or if they want to go up to Boca, or if they want to go up to Palm Beach, because the beauty of it is that you're right in the middle, Palm Beach and Miami. A little bit more of a hike when you're going from Miami to Palm Beach and vice versa. A lot of folks also have friends, family in Boca. They want to be here, closer to the water, go out on the boat on the weekends, dock right in front of your house. So that's the allure that most people have when they're thinking of living in Fort Lauderdale. And if you're not a boater, it doesn't really make a difference, because when you look at these canals and you look at the intracoastal, it's really quite something special to see. In summary, Fort Lauderdale is calmer, walkable, boating lifestyle. Remember, it's the Venice of America. It's great for family boaters and anyone looking for quiet with convenience. Miami, on the other hand, is more fast-paced, it's much more international, urban energy, global cuisine, world-class shopping, and a nightlife that really doesn't stop. So, Miami moves fast, while Fort Lauderdale lets you breathe. Which lifestyle feels more like you? Curious to know. Drop it in the comments below. By the way, I've put together a relocation guide for those that are looking to move down here. So if you're curious, you just want to check it out, text the word relocation to the number here on the screen and I'll send it your way. Let's look at the cost of living. Here's where things get interesting. The average rent is about 3% less in Fort Lauderdale. Home prices can be up to 12% less in Fort Lauderdale. Utilities are about the same. Groceries in Fort Lauderdale is slightly higher, while healthcare is 3.7% higher in Fort Lauderdale. But reports state that Fort Lauderdale is between 7 and 19% cheaper across most living costs. And when it comes to going out for dinner or to have a drink at a bar up here versus what you'll experience in Brickell or Miami Beach, it's kind of eye-opening. Now, I have not done this yet for Miami, but I did do a cost of living video in Fort Lauderdale. Up here, like I said, it's very similar, so it'll give you a good idea of what to expect, and it's kind of informative if you're thinking of buying, so check it out. But in the end, if housing is your biggest line item, Fort Lauderdale usually has the upper hand in the affordability sector. Now let's talk about other deciding factors, including schools, jobs, and flooding. Now, if you're moving with kids and you're considering private schools, Miami has the edge in sheer volume and prestige. Think Ransom Everglades, Carrollton, Gulliver Prep, and Miami Country Day. But Fort Lauderdale holds its own with schools like Westminster Academy, American Heritage, and Pike, especially if you're looking for more space, easier access, and a lot less competitive admission process. Fort Lauderdale has the edge in that respect. And when you look at public schools, Fort Lauderdale has the upper hand. Miami has a more competitive job market, especially in tech, finance, and hospitality. In terms of transportation, Miami offers public transit, which maybe you'll use in areas like Brickell or downtown with the Metro Mover. You do have the Bright Line, which connects you to Aventura, Fort Lauderdale, and then up to Palm Beach and up to Orlando. And they're working on the Design District as a stop as well. Honestly, it's not the cheapest method of transportation, like if you're thinking the subway, but it is nicer and faster than sitting in traffic. But the trade-off for being one of the most desirable cities in the world right now is you do have quite a bit of traffic. Fort Lauderdale does not seem like that. I mean, rush hour, you'll have traffic, of course, is to be expected. And obviously when you're looking at the season, but particularly spring break or when you have events, which is to be expected. But your everyday is really day and night. Now, if you're moving from out of state, particularly if you're moving from New York, or somewhere that you're used to public transportation and getting around easily, know this, you will need a car, or you'll be spending money on Uber quite a bit, because the infrastructure, honestly, is really not there. Most other methods of public transportation It's not something that most people use. It is there, but like I said, you're more than likely gonna Uber from place to place. And I think that that's why people really gravitate to those areas like Brickell or Coconut Grove in Miami, where you can walk to places, or up here in Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas or Victoria Park, so you can really get around and walk everywhere. But all in all, Fort Lauderdale is much easier to navigate. It's much less congested, much less traffic. If you're a boater, it's paradise. And again, I can't emphasize enough, if you're somebody that's going to be meeting people or working and having to go up to Palm Beach and Miami, it really is a no-brainer. Let's talk about insurance and flooding. Both cities have high insurance premiums, especially near the coast. Waterfront or older condos, you have to expect a higher cost. If you're looking at a waterfront or an older condo, please work with somebody who knows how to get you the information that you need to make sure that you're covered. Keep in mind that for condo buildings, the exterior insurance and the flood insurance for the building is already baked in to your monthly HOA due. So that's why a lot of folks have seen their HOAs increase so much in recent years. Folks that own single family homes have also seen a big increase of insurance over the past few years. And flooding is an issue all throughout South Florida, to be honest with you. You're going into the summer months where you do have a lot of downpour, but you also have surge, which is where water comes out of the ground that you need to know about. And it's hard to explain these things to people that haven't lived here before, like hurricanes, which are, we don't like to say the H word, but they're a reality. And honestly, I've never lived in the snow. I've seen the snow a handful of times. I'm the worst in the cold. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know why you do it. But in my mind, if I think of a snowstorm, I'd be petrified. Honestly, one of the most stressful things I can imagine as somebody moving down is probably going to be driving through the rain, much like it would be stressful for me driving through black snow or something like that. If you were waiting for me to tell you, buy in this part of town because here there's no flooding, that's not it. Now, what you will hear people say is, oh, this house is in a flood zone X, so that means you don't have to carry flood insurance. And while that's true, you may not need to carry it. When you speak with your insurance agent, they're probably going to advise that you get that, because while you may be saving some bucks by not carrying that flood insurance, that's why you buy flood insurance in general. It's in case something happens. So in most cases, when we talk about flooding, unless it's an extreme scenario, water won't go into your home. It depends where you're looking, but in most cases it won't. There is no escaping it. It's an issue in both Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And in terms of the cost of insurance, remember, anything that's older will probably be a higher insurance rate. Anything that's newer, both in the single family and in the condo market, you can expect to have some savings. Now that you know all of this, how do you decide? The simple way to think about it is choose Miami if you want big city energy, global connectivity. If you want luxury condo living, really nice amenities, fast courier access, and importantly, if you travel internationally often, Miami might be better suited for you because, again, Fort Lauderdale is an international airport, but Miami does have much more in terms of international flights. Because of that, you might even find lower price tickets out of Miami. Choose Fort Lauderdale if you want more home for your money, if you like quiet boating, beach town energy, you like that strong resale on waterfront homes, and you want to have access to both Palm Beach and Miami, but you want your day-to-day to be much more laid back, and you want to have quick access to Palm Beach or Miami when you want, but you want your day-to-day to be much more laid back. And I wish I could tell you this one's better than the other. And honestly, here's the thing. I mean, I've lived in both, and neither is better. It just kind of depends what stage of life you're in or what's important to you. I mean, I have to be honest, in my 20s, Miami was it. But now that I've had to grow up, I'm very happy living in Fort Lauderdale, because it really does come down to the right fit. I mean, what are your investment goals? What is your timeline? If you're thinking of moving here, What is the lifestyle, not the lifestyle that you have now, but what's the lifestyle that you're looking forward to having when you're down here? And if you need help figuring that out, my information is right on the screen here. It's also in the description below. And I'll be happy to help you spot what most buyers miss, explore off-market opportunities, and ultimately help you find the right fit for your goals and the lifestyle that you're looking for down here. And once again, my name is Juan Yarusi with Compass, your South Florida realtor. Thank you for sticking through to the end. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you know somebody that has South Florida real estate on their mind, please go ahead and share this with them. And as always, remember, stay savvy, stay informed, stay ready, and I'll see you on the next one.